The Swiss watch industry is in a fairly difficult place at the moment. We are in the midst of a luxury slowdown, with China particularly accounting for a huge deceleration. And on top of that, Switzerland has been hit with some of the harshest US trade tariffs. Over the past 15 years, luxury watch houses have gone mainstream with their increased presence on social media and swell of interest in the pandemic market bubble of 2021 and 2022. We are now on the other side of that, and we have seen a meaningful slowdown in people buying luxury goods and, for our purposes, watches. I recently watched a Bloomberg video about some of the real problems the Swatch Group is facing, and it's the big inspiration behind this video. But because they are Bloomberg, it remained a little bit more broad and for their audience, who are a bit more into finance than watches. This video is going to be tailored for my audience, who's a bit more into watches than finance. LSEG, or the London Stock Exchange Group, confirmed Swatch as the most shorted stock in Europe. Profit was down almost 90% in the first half of 2025, and they are now trading at a 16-year low. In this video, we're going to be looking at the 5 big reasons why Swatch is struggling so much, even amongst its luxury conglomerate counterparts, and if the Hayek family are wanting to take the group private, which doesn't seem too far-fetched. Let's start with number 1, and this is the most boring item out of the 5, but something that has been greatly impacting the luxury sector. These past 12 months have been deemed the Great Luxury Slowdown, and it has hit many conglomerates. For example, LVMH experienced a 38% decline in revenue between April 2024 and April 2025. This boils down to a few different factors. A lot of the developed world has experienced economic slowdown, and when finances are tighter, people make less luxury purchases. They are not buying unnecessary wrist jewelry and doing more sensible things with their money, like saving. Another massive, unignorable factor in the slowdown is the purchasing power of China and Hong Kong. In 2024, China imported 25.8% less Swiss watches than they did in 2023, and Hong Kong 18.7% less. If we hone in on Swatch, specifically Swatch, the premiumization problem pointedly affects their brands. When we look at the brands under the Swatch Group umbrella, at the lower end we have Swatch, then Tissot, Certina, Hamilton, then the next rung being Longines, Rado, and then the upper end being Omega, Glashutte Original, and Blancpain, with the very top of the pyramid, their most premium brand being the historic Breguet. But the big problem is, every single brand under their leadership is in decline. If we look at the Morgan Stanley Swiss Watch Report, honing in on the top 20 brands, we watch Rado disappear in 2019 from the top 20, Breguet in 2020, Blancpain in 2022, Omega went from number 2 to number 3, just behind Cartier, and the only bright spot has been Swatch in 2023, re-entering the top 20 at 11, thanks to the success of the Moon Swatch. When interpreting the data, there's a clear trend towards premiumization. Watches with a retail price exceeding 50,000 Swiss francs accounted for 33.5% of total Swiss watch exports. And in realistic terms, that just isn't a lot of the Swatch Group. There seems to be a two-speed market, with the ultra high-end luxury segment experiencing growth, while the mid-tier market is contracting, which completely makes sense. As we acknowledged before, when times are leaner, the more normal people, the people who would buy mid-tier luxury watches, they tighten their belts. They're not out buying fancy wrist jewelry. But these times don't hit the ultra-wealthy in the same way, which we can clearly see through sales. I recently made a video about the unorthodox recession indicators we can see through watches. And one of the big indicators to me, one big red flag for me, was when I heard that Watches and Wonders is giving out less press passes and more access to incredibly wealthy super collectors. For me, that is a clear thermometer reading. So this is a big one for me and a bit more of an op-ed, but I really think Swatch have lost their way and they've become irrelevant, especially at their lowest and most core levels. For example, if you go for a walk in your city, how many people do you see wearing a Swatch? Now, how many people do you see wearing a Casio? Namely, a vintage-inspired Casio. The entire entity of Swatch Group exists because of the success of Swatch during the quartz crisis, taking the low cost of quartz technology and creating a silly, fun, awesome watch that captured the moment. I think they have captured that same spirit again with the Moon Swatch, but they have struggled to create things that speak to culture on a wider level. All right, tariffs. We won't be hanging out here for too long. There have been enough videos made about the US trade tariffs and the possible effects on the Swiss watch industry. But the US, one of the most important Swiss watch importers, has slapped Switzerland with a steep 39% tariff. It is going to have a negative effect on the industry, and now we wait to see the effects. Now, this is really what I wanted to talk about this whole video, and it's not news to anyone who's been following Swatch closely over the last couple of years. Nick Hayek has publicly acknowledged the appeal of taking Swatch private on several occasions, and there is a clear difference in vision between the Hayeks and investors. Bernstein analyst Luca Solca wrote in his report, "The attitude of the Swatch Group CEO would make perfect sense if his goal was to take Swatch Group private at some point. Tank the stock, make it cheaper, then buy it all back." In theory, that's the theory of all of it. The Hayeks have not come out and said that they are going to do that or they're trying to do that, although they have entertained it publicly that it could be a good idea. And it's not outside the realm of possibility with the family controlling 44% of the voting rights. And they have been purchasing more of the company. In July 2024, they spent about 11 million Swiss francs on Swatch shares. According to Reuters, Swatch is the most shorted European stock, meaning investors are betting against the luxury conglomerate. I think there are three big reasons why the Hayeks would find it attractive to privatize. For one, competing visions of the future. Two, the conglomerate model just isn't working anymore. And three, family control, nostalgia, and having a long-term outlook. Starting with number one, for years now there's been a competing vision between the Hayek family and investors. Investors see the premiumization of the luxury industry at large and want to capitalize on that. They want to see Swatch invest more heavily in their premium names like Breguet, Blancpain, etc. And to their credit, I think a lot of people would agree with this strategy. If you are a watch geek, you have probably at some point in your watch collecting journey been upset with the Swatch stewardship of names like Breguet. They have some of the most meaningful names and powerful names in all of horology, and they're not being used to their full potential, which could be perceived as a mistake, especially at this time. Refer back to the premiumization section of this video. So investors want to lean into that momentum, while the Hayek family wants to stick to their roots. Nick Hayek has publicly stated that watches aren't just for the rich, and their heritage is affordability. Now, number two, the luxury conglomerate model, as we know it today, simply isn't working anymore. This is a whole video unto itself, I think. But the long short of it is, huge entities like LVMH and Swatch are struggling. Their business model was created in the 1980s by buying up struggling luxury brands, reviving them under one roof, and using heritage names to sell aspirational and more affordable luxury products to middle and working class people. The problem is that that business model isn't working anymore, and they need to adapt with the times or risk becoming as irrelevant as the brands that they acquired 40 years ago. Which leads us nicely to number three, that being under family control and being privatized might be the way forward for the luxury segment. To privatize means you are no longer subject to the whims of investors looking for short-term wins, and you can focus on long-term success, even if that means taking a hit in the short term. The Hayek family will feel a special kinship for Swatch Group. It was founded by their late father. It is credited with preserving the Swiss watch industry as we know it today. And of course, they don't want to explain their vision to investors. One of the things I find the most interesting about the watch industry at large is the push-pull nature of creating something beautiful, meaningful, artisanal, with high craftsmanship, while also being profit driven. Us, as watch people, get very lost in the romantic side of horology and the engineering aspects, but there's a very real money and profit motivation. Swatch is an interesting case study, being a significant conglomerate with some of the most storied and important brands under its leadership. They are highly vertically integrated and have a short history of existence with one family at the helm, not unlike other significant conglomerates that have taken a downturn. Maybe the Hayeks believe the way out of this downturn is greater control, not operating at the whims of shareholders, but long-term value and prioritizing products over profits, which cannot be done while operating as a publicly listed company. Hey guys, a bit of an abrupt ending there. The names on the screen, these are the Pope tier patrons. They keep the lights on here. They keep this channel going. Thank you all to your patrons. Thank you for supporting my weird little channel. As I said at the start of this video, it was highly inspired by the Bloomberg video that I saw. I watched it. I thought, oh, this is great. I feel like we could dive deeper into this. And there were just some things I wanted to add to the conversation. So if you enjoyed this video, if you enjoy this topic, I highly recommend watching the Bloomberg video. Fellow watch YouTuber This Watch That Watch has also created a video around this. I watched some of it, but not all of it, because I didn't want his opinion to be too deep within me and then I just regurgitate what he said. So I recommend watching his video. I'm going to go watch it now to see how close maybe our videos were to each other. I don't know. I'm gonna go check it out now. Thank you for watching this video. More watch reviews to come, watch news, watch reviews, all that fun stuff. Thank you, patrons. You're so amazing. Thank you for supporting my weird little channel. I hope you keep enjoying it. And yeah. Okay. Bye, guys.